All right, good afternoon.
Hello, hello.
How we doing?
Good, how are you? Thank you.
Mike, Coach, what's the challenge of being the new guy in a group that's so experienced that most of these guys have been here for multiple years?
I don't know that there's a challenge in that. I think it's quite an advantage, especially because there's so many things in my background with Bill Callahan that is called the same and still done the same, but there's also things that aren't. And so I think having those vets, when you talk about Joel and Poe and Wyatt and Jack, those guys are such a good window into the past, the recent past. And so I can see how Bill evolved, because Bill always evolves. He's a master coach, and so it's a good thing for us to be able to say, okay, we're going to do this like this or exactly like that, and just for a start of reference in the conversation.
Mike, Jack was saying yesterday that beyond just what you bring from your own experience, the head coaching experience, that head coaching piece that you have in your background, he said it's how valuable it is to bring to the room. What do you feel like that head coaching experience adds as a position coach now at this level?
Yeah, I think whether you're a head coach of a football team or the position coach, you're in charge of that segment, right? And as a head coach, of course, you have a lot of balls in the air. I think the big thing I'd tell you is I am so fortunate and so happy to be back in the National Football League and to be part of this organization. It's an outstanding organization to be part of, and I get to worry about football all the time. I get to worry about the offensive line all the time instead of, kissing babies and raising money and some of the things you do as a head coach in college football in this day and age.
Joel Batonius, when we were talking to him, he said, praising you, he said, sometimes you have to be a dick as an offensive line coach. So how do you do that without going too far?
I think you have to be true to yourself. I think players at any age feel like when you're not being genuine, and they know it. And I think they can tell how much I love this game. If it comes across as being that word, that's probably the nicest way anybody's ever called me that word. So I guess I'll take it, and I appreciate the fact that these guys want to be pushed. And they do. They want to be great, and that's a fun group to work with day in and day out.
I know at the end of last year, a couple of guys were talking about wanting to get back to the wide zone and what Kevin had done early in his tenure here, and then Joe was excited to do it too. Can you see that excitement from these guys that are kind of getting back to the bread and butter?
Honestly, from day one of OSP, when we got to talk about it, when Tommy Reese went in there and installed the offensive identity, and we talked about who we're going to be and what things have to happen for us to be that team, I think you've seen a great level of excitement, and you've also seen guys making a commitment to make those techniques work.
With the idea of the identity, what is your philosophy going into this of what you want this line to be, what you want them to represent when they're out there?
Yeah, this line is going to be smart, tough, and physical, and they're going to see the game through one set of eyes, and that's going to be Ethan Posick, who's going to identify things for us.
You were with the Stanford teams that, running the football and that physicality was that was their identity. Just what's the similarities between what you guys are trying to do here with what you guys did there at Stanford?
I think it's a very similar philosophy in terms of wanting to have the ability to pound the rock. Now, with that, you're in the National Football League. You're also going to have to pass protect. But again, in everything that we do, there's never going to be a passive rep. Like pass pro is only passive until contact's made, and then it's straight violence for the rest of the down, and it's a barroom brawl. And so as long as we take that mindset and understand the fight that it takes, whether it's run or pass, I think we're going to be just fine. But talking about those Stanford days, those were a lot of fun. Those were a lot of fun, being able to pound the rock down people's throats. And that's something this offensive line really wants to be able to do for this team as well.
What have you seen from Dawand Jones at left tackle?
Yeah, I think Dawand's done some good things. You talk about what you've seen this offseason just as the OSP started. You talk about the steps that he's taken. He's been at everything. He's attacked his rehab, and he's lost some weight. So I think those are good starting points. I think there's so much good in the package that is Dawand Jones, things that certainly you can't coach, from a length, a size standpoint, athleticism. There's a lot of good in there. But he's certainly not a finished product, as are none of us in that offensive line room, including myself. There's still a lot of work to be done. I really think it's the proverbial, we're not where we need or want to be, but thank God we're not where we used to be. We're making progress, but we got a long way to go.
You got a player comp? Is there anybody from your past that Dawand reminds you of?
No.
He's that unique?
He's unique, yes.
He talked about the transition from the right side to the left side. Now he thinks he's still kind of going through that, and trying to do stuff left-handed. How have you seen him get better, and how do you help him get even further better being on that left side?
Yeah, I think it is reps, reps, reps. And ruthlessly repetitive fundamentals are a thing we believe in the offensive line room. And so the more sets he can get from the left and the more comfortable he can get, whether it's from a 2-point stance or from a 3-point stance, that all has so much value. And we've got to make sure we're getting him those reps. I'm really encouraged by the ability that's there. And again, I think there's a philosophy in this building and something Bill has always held strong to. And there's not a whole lot of difference between playing right and left tackle from a skill set. And although we know the importance of the left tackle position, I'm not saying that. But again, when you talk about just mastering those footwork patterns and feeling comfortable with every kick and every step you're taking, that's really just time on task because it is a different stance.
So you believe that kind of a tackle is a tackle, right, left isn't. More is made out of right and left than maybe the reality is.
I think when you're looking for tools and skill set, yes.
Over the past couple of years, injuries have kind of plagued the line for you. Where do you see the depth of this team? Obviously, you want to stay healthy, but where's the depth look like for you?
I think the depth's coming, and I think the offseason moves that we made and bringing Tevin in and bringing Cornelius Lucas in, those are great steps to shoring that up. There's also going to be some competition at a couple positions because of those guys jumping in there. I think Luke Whippler, who we call Coach Whippler because of his knowledge of the system, I think he's doing a great job, and I think we have a ton of confidence in him.
How much do you enjoy the development part of this?
I love it. I live for this, y'all. Like football is what I love.
Along the lines with Dawand switching to the left side, I've seen a couple times where he's kind of off on the side talking to Miles a little bit, just sort of talking about some different things. Just how much can Miles help Dawand sort of learn the ropes on that side and just going up against that caliber of player?
Yeah, I think it's the ultimate iron sharpens iron, right, as you talk about that. And so anything that they can do, and certainly post-rep, hey, what'd you see, what'd you feel, and why, and being able to process that as an offensive lineman, knowing that we live in fractional seconds, so it's got to be something that's done pre-snap. And so we can take it away the next time, understanding like, hey, I saw your shoulders open. Hey, I saw you off balance. Great. Let's make sure we fix it and just stay lower and stay square.
Did you really tell Joel you thought he had 4 years left?
I did, man. Look, I'm the eternal optimist, and I'm praying to get every moment I can with Joel Bitonio. Like from that first dinner that we had, I just think it's been such a blessing to be around him. I really comp it to when we brought in Alan Faneca with the Jets in 2008. And whenever Joel talks about something he sees through the face mask, I can't wait to write it down, right? Because there's so much wisdom in there, and it really was the same as Faneca. Like I got books full of his vantage point that I still use today to teach.
So you were pretty relieved when he decided he was coming back?
Yeah, I'd say it's one of my best recruiting efforts lately.